Hey everybody, welcome to this Board Game Life episode number 62 called Year 13. This is a show about gaming, board gaming, card gaming, any kind of tabletop gaming, who knows what else. I'm one of your fine hosts for today. My name is Rob, and with me as always, I got my good buddy Mark.
Hey Rob, how you doing this fine day?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Almost the end of the year.
Yeah,
Getting ready for 2024. Just around the corner, just a little bit over 2 weeks. And make sure is that 3 weeks? About two and a
dude,
half weeks.
2 days. In 2 days, 2 days from right now, in less than 48 hours, or in 48 hours from right now, I will be sitting at the airport waiting to pick up my daughter coming home from college. And
Oh,
then a
your
couple of
gaming
days after
partner.
that, I'll be back at the airport to pick up my son, my oldest son. So I am like so excited. This is a great week for me.
Awesome. No, that's
So
because you can't wait to see your kids, not just because you're getting your game group back together, right? Don't answer that. Don't
Sure.
answer that. Don't incriminate
Sure.
yourself.
Oh,
Just come home straight from the airport and you got like a game set up on the table.
dude, I'm gonna have one in the car. We're gonna play something on the way back.
Yeah,
uh,
like those games that they have where like, oh, you can play these on a airplane tray, the
yeah,
small form factor games. It's like, yes, we can do that in a car.
exactly.
You're
They're
like,
called travel for a reason.
yeah. And you're like,
What
hold
good
the
is cruise
wheel while,
control?
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why they invented self-driving cars.
There you go.
There you go. Or Uber. No, yeah, take an Uber.
Oh no! I could buy several games, lots of games for the cost of an
That
Uber.
is true. That is
I have a
true.
long drive, so
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, I'm sure we got a lot to talk about this episode, year 13, which is good year 13. It's not a bad number or anything like that. So let's get rolling with stuff. So I'll do my to the table thing. Just what I've been playing hasn't been a whole lot, and one is that I want to talk about is we got to play Castles of Burgundy.
yes.
Remember? And
Uh-huh.
yeah, we played it on BGA, Board Game Arena, and I held off talking about this because I've been like really curious. What were your thoughts about that game? I know we talked about it a little bit, and you can go on and on about how I beat you by 1 point. You can gush about how you lost by 1 point. Oh, thanks,
To
Rob.
the
I only
expert,
lost
to
by
the
1 point.
master.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I still think you kind of let me do that. So, but yeah, that's right. It was a 1 point victory, but um, I thought the game played really well on BGA. So
It did.
I've only played it once before. That was at Gen Con. You were teaching the board game for the first time. And I actually didn't play the whole thing because that was our last day there and they were
Yeah.
closing the retail hall and I wanted to run back in and do one
You
more. Like I really needed. I had two suitcases full of games. Did I really
yeah.
need another one?
Yeah,
But
because you went back by Lorcana, right? Ravensburger booth or something, I think.
um no, I think I was looking for this game, Castles of Burgundy. I thought
Oh
you had said
yeah,
you had seen it or
I
something, but I
had.
think
Yes.
but I don't think they had it for sale or
Yeah, it
anything. I
was
don't
not for sale. It was one of the Kickstarter companies. Maybe it was GameFound or something like that. So they had a
uh
box there. It was, or whatever the
yeah.
platform was that they went through. I forget. I think it was GameFound.
Okay. So I don't know. Somehow I misunderstood. And I was like, I'm gonna go grab this, and I went looking
Rub
for
it
it,
in
couldn't
his
find it.
face.
So yeah, because I know you had ordered this special edition, and I was like, oh, if I can buy the special edition here, I'll have it before Rob will, and it's his favorite game of all time, and that would just I rub it
Yeah,
in his face, and I couldn't find it because it didn't exist there
yeah,
in
yeah.
sale form. So I came back, and Brun had taken over for me, and then I came back him and I were I was just kind of watching him finish up, and I just remember I was exhausted. I was really
Yeah.
tired, so I was having a hard time following the game.
Yeah. And
But
and dude, just imagine with that box, right? With that
oh
box, if you had actually, I mean, how would you even get that back home?
yeah, no kidding. It's a big one. So that's what she
Yeah.
said. But so before we played, so I had someone in my game group wanted to play, and I've been wanting to play it. So it's like, okay, I've got to learn this. So I was watching some videos like several times, watching a couple different ones. One was Rodney Smith's how to play, going through setup and explaining it, and then I watched the um, gosh, I can never remember the other one, but I watch all their videos too. Watch It Played? No. Yeah,
No,
Watch It
that's
Played.
Rodney's. That's
No,
Rodney's
that's
channel.
Rodney. So then the other one was with Lincoln and Nikki and
Oh, that's the board game geek show, Game Night.
yeah, Game Night. That's right, Game Night. I don't know why I can never remember that name of that show. So I watched theirs several times, just kind of watching them play. Again, explaining setup and stuff. They do a great job, and I like that because they do the setup, and then especially on a harder game like this, to watch them play it is very helpful. So I had, and I was reading through the rule book, and then so when we played, you were giving me like a rundown, and it was like, okay, I got this, I got that, and you explained some things I still didn't quite understand, and so I had a much better grasp
Yeah.
of the game than of course the very first time. And I know I was asking some questions as we were going through, and it was great because you told me to put it on like a like no time limit so we could talk. And but it's still the game. I think we spent like 2 hours, which really maybe was long for two players because when we had four the following night that I played it, um, we did like I want to say it was 2.5 hours total, which isn't bad considering two of the people had never played it. There was a lady with us who had played it and has the game, and then me. It was only my third time, maybe one, really my second time playing because the first time I
Right.
can't really count it. But
Yeah.
the BGA I thought went really well. What I really liked was that it tallied everything for you. Like you
Like
just did your
instantly.
moves, and it was
Yeah.
like, boop, here's your points, which was I found to be a struggle. And thankfully, I had someone there who knew how to play, and she was helping me with like, okay, that's worth points, and here's how you score this, and so it. But the BGA of just kind of doing that for you was really nice, and it was interesting because when we did finish the game, before it did its final tally, I was ahead, but I'm like, I knew something. I'm like, yeah, Rob's got all his bonus points and he's gonna come. And so, you did end up winning, but I was really surprised. And I remember asking you, did you just take it easy on me? Because I only lost by 1 point. Um, and I really felt like maybe you just took it easy on me.
No.
So,
No,
but
there's times where you really get hindered. I mean, it's not just a Castles of Burgundy thing. I mean, it's a lot of games are like this, where, like for example, um, in Castles of Burgundy, you might do a die roll and you can't do what you want because you can't take pieces or you can't place them. That's why it's really important to have workers, right? Because then you can
yeah,
really open up, what you can take and what you can do. But there were a number of times where, like, what I really wanted to do was just out of reach. Is I just did a poor die roll, and it's like at that point you got to go to Plan B and make the best of the
yeah,
situation. Some people might argue, well, that's randomness. Well, yeah, that's that's life. You just adapt
yeah,
to whatever you can. But I was kind of thinking about it afterwards, and what really helped you was you were selling all of the goods. And I want to say you had like 35, 36 points just from goods. I had nothing. I think I
yeah,
sold only one stack of goods, and that's just because that's like my only option, my only good option that I could do. And And I think that that's really what got you because that was, I mean, that was what 1/5 of your points, probably 1/5 to 1/6 of your
I
points
had
was your
yeah,
goods.
I mean I had 161, so but there were a lot of goods I was getting, and
Yeah,
the one thing I really like about this game is, so first of all, I don't regret buying the special edition, even though I really didn't have but that one exposure to it.
yeah,
And my initial exposure to it really wasn't good
yeah,
because the original game board, the colors, I'm not colorblind, but the tan and the yellow are so close to each other that
yes,
I was really struggling, like, which is which. And I'll say, even now, the new version has got a lot more vibrant colors, which I really like. But even then, I've had people that were sitting there the other night going, well, which one is this? And it's like, because of the tan and the yellow, it's like, why they did a tan and a yellow is beyond me. Like,
yep. That's been a
there's what,
long, yeah, huge complaint.
65 million colors, and you had to pick two that were so similar. They really should have done something different for one of them, you know.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree.
the special edition does make it a lot easier to. There's still moments where I had to stop and look, like, oh, but once I also know that, okay, I know the difference between what the yellows are the special bonuses and the tans are the buildings. That helps. But I don't regret buying the game. It was very expensive. I did not get the all in, I guess, because I didn't get the acrylic tiles, and now I want them. But you can't find them anywhere except eBay for like $500, and I'm like, I don't want them that bad. Um, and I've learned my lesson. You don't buy stuff like this on eBay.
Yeah,
So, but I've got all the nice stuff except all my tiles are still the cardboard. I've got something. Oh, the goods are actually like wooden tiles, so those are upgraded. But like the tiles you put on your duchy are still the cardboard, but they are
yeah,
bigger. I like that they're bigger sized. And the interesting thing is, I this when we first played at Gen Con, I'm really like, again, a lot of it was that I was tired, but it was also a lot of, like I've mentioned this before with you, a lot of the games you like seem to be these Euro games that I tend to kind of like, you know, like I'm
you got
not
to grow
really
into them. You got to grow into them. Really, it's
well, they don't
yeah,
seem to be like Catan is not something I'm really thrilled at. My oldest son loves it. I'm sure I'll get a round or two of it in when he comes home. Um, but he loves the game. And but I've played it and I was like, you know, it's okay. It's just not
yeah,
me. And I kind of felt that way about Castles Burgundy. I was like, dude, there is so much going on. I'm lost. I'm confused. I don't get it. But when I played it again and when I had to teach other people last week, um, it it was like I found that I really do enjoy this game a lot. And what I really like about it is that no matter what is happening, the game's like, you and I had an extremely close game. When we played with these other four people, my score went up. I ended up with 182. So I
okay,
did gain like 21 points overall.
nice,
The last place person was who had never played before, was at 171. I was helping her learn the game. Another guy who had never played but is like freaking phenomenal at games and usually wins a lot of our games. He kicked my butt. He went to 197. And then the lady that had played before, she was at 225. And it was funny because at one point I was ahead and she was actually way behind. And then just all of a sudden, man, she just boom leapfrogged people. And then no one could catch her. But
yeah,
everyone really enjoyed the game. And that's what I like. Again, it's like really no matter what happens or something fails, or you don't get, someone took like there was like 4 or 5 cows tile in the middle in the black market that I was like wanting, and someone took it. But I still ended up filling like my large animal area with all cows of high numbers, and did very well with my animals. but it's like there's always other ways to, like you said, selling goods, or completing all of the areas to get the bonus tiles, or they're just get the bonus tiles of like
Yeah.
filling in all the green or filling in all the blue, those bonus tiles. Then there's those yellow ones that might get you after game scoring or help you during the game to, get more things. You place this tile, you get to take a building or something. There's so many different ways to score that, you know, really are, the lowest score we had was 171, the highest was 225. That's a pretty good gap, but you that was the experienced player. And the next one who'd first time play was at 197. That's not that big of a gap,
Mhm.
So, and we play again, he'll probably whoop us all. He's just that good of a player. Um, Once he learned some things, and he even said he made some mistakes at the beginning because, he was still learning it. So, um, but yeah, it's a fantastic game. I really am glad that you taught it to me. I'm glad I bought it. If they ever do release the acrylic tiles, I'll pick them up. But it's not a necessity. But
Yeah.
it's
And
just one of those. It is in my this is my top game, and I have a feeling I'll be playing this quite a bit more. I had a guy who wasn't there ask today in our Discord group how it went, so I might have to. I might be breaking it out again this Wednesday.
there
so
you go. So
we'll
when you
see.
guys when you guys played, did you play on board one or board A? I
Yes,
forget if they're yeah.
it
So
was
it's the same
board
one that we
one,
played. Okay.
one of 30. Man, there's a ton of boards
Yeah.
in the special edition. Man, there
Hmm.
was 30, and it was kind of a pain to find them because they didn't have like the ones together. The two they had four
Yeah.
groups of 1 through 30, and I was like, "There's only one. There's only one number one. What the heck?" I started flipping through. I was like, "Oh, I see what they did."
Yeah.
So I had to
It's a
go
big
digging for all of
stack.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I
and then
forget
someone
how
was
many.
commenting. Sorry, one of the ladies was commenting. Well, wouldn't it be more fun if we weren't playing on the same board? And I'm like, oh, they recommend we all play the same when we first start,
Yeah. Just
so it just
yeah.
gives
So
variety.
everybody, it's that first board that like we played. It's like
Yeah,
very basic, and not in a bad way or anything like that. It's simple,
right.
right? You got some ones. It maxes out at the regions at 5. It's got a nice spread, and
Yeah,
some of the other ones, like if you flip through them, you can definitely see like the challenges that some of the boards will create. Like some of them have regions that are like 8 big, which are a lot more difficult to fill in,
yeah,
and stuff's dispersed all over the place. But yeah, like the original game, it only came with a couple boards, and then they released a whole bunch as expansions. Various ways you get them in magazines or promos and stuff. But you know, none of them are required. I mean, I still enjoy playing the first board, even after all these years.
yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. Actually, there's a term. I think it actually got started with Castles of Burgundy. There's a term that's synonymous with Stefan Feld, which is the designer, and it's called point salad. Have you ever heard of that? Not the game. I know there's a
I
game
would
called
say
Point
I've
Salad
heard of the game.
by
Yeah, I love
AEG.
the
Yeah,
game.
yeah. So like point salad. I mean, I don't know if it's really derogatory or something like that, but I mean, some people use it kind of as like a dig a little bit. But it's basically where any single move that you do nets you points somehow.
Right,
and and a lot of his okay, I'm gonna admit a lot of his games do have that feel to it. Like you know, you you put down, a tile, you score points, and you put down another one, score 4 points when you get this tile, and then close off an area, you get points. So you keep racking up points, and in some ways that is satisfying. It's it is kind of nice to see your marker move up, and it creates some tension, right? Because it's like, oh, Rob's in the lead. Oh, Mark took over. He's like right in front of him. Oh, Rob took the lead by 4 points. So it does create some tension to get some more points. And then
Yeah.
there's the end of game surprise, right? Where when the I'll call them end of game points, for lack of a better term, when those get tallied up, it's like it doesn't matter who's in the lead, right? At that point, because that can totally change. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say. Oh, the thing I wanted to mention about the acrylic tiles was the acrylic tiles feel really nice because I got I forgot what it was called, some of the some J version, like Jupiter or some. I know it's not. It wasn't astrological or anything like that, but or astronomical, not astrological. But that came with the tiles for the expansion, what the vineyards expansion, and it had all of the hexes. I think that was it. Yeah. So it had all of the sexes, not sexes, hexes
Whoa.
as
You got the
acrylic
adult
tiles.
version.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I I I like the feel of them, but I don't know. I think there are some advantages to the regular tiles, and primarily when you have I forgot what they're called, but they're the yellow tiles, right? Which are,
Right.
4 points at the end of the game, this and
Right.
that, because it has the explanation on the back of the tile. So you can just, pick up the tile, look at it, and go, oh yeah, this is what it is. You don't have to look it up in the book. But still, I mean, that's just a minor thing. And the acrylic tiles do make the game box a lot heavier too. So
Oh
there
yeah.
there is that, because the acrylic tiles, they give you all of the hexes and then the vineyard double hexes, which are like two hexes like joined together on one side. So there's quite a bit. I mean, it's not way heavier, but it still adds to it.
Did you get the was it the Majestic pledge
No. What
or
was
the
that one?
Royal?
No.
Let's see. There's the special edition.
That's the base one?
Looks like the Royal had the tokens upgrades and the Majestic did. But the Majestic is like the big boy. Looks like includes everything. Did you get a playmat? A three
Yes.
neoprene playmat too?
Yes. And
So
that's
the Royal
nice,
pledge
but
had that. That's the lowest one. The Royal has it. So you must have had the Royal. Because it comes with all stretch goals, the neoprene mat, the acrylic tokens upgrade. Then the next one above that gives you like a third terrain pack. Looks like actual ships, like actual plastic ships on tiles and real sheep on their green.
uh,
So, and some kind of castle. There's like a real castle here looking thing. I don't know what that is. I didn't get that myself.
okay, so here, let's see. So there's, oh, these are all the expansions. I'm looking at the campaign. Okay, so there's special edition, and
There's the
then no minis, Royal Sundrop. I think that's the one that I got. The
well,
Royal Sundrop edition.
well. There's also
Whatever
a
Sundrop.
Majestic Sundrop edition.
Yeah, not no, it was not the Majestic.
Yeah. So, still, that's nice. I want to see that when I come out in February. I'd like
Oh
to see your
wow.
acrylic tiles.
Yeah, it's got like the 3D sheep
Right? Yeah.
train. Let me see,
Isn't that kind
Majestic.
of cool?
Yeah.
Now we're both like, oh, we should have gone all in.
No, I
Take
like the
my
game,
money.
but but oh, That would be cool. So I do have the castles. Do you have the castle
I
miniatures?
do have like little red castles. Yeah, they don't look like that one that's in the picture, but I do have these little red castles, which I almost don't like because the tall one's actually pretty tall and it kind of like it's almost like you're looking around it. I almost prefer the tiles, and it's the only thing you're sticking out there that is not a little tile.
Yeah.
So, but we used them. Why not?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, it's a really fun game. I really like it a lot.
No,
So
that's I'm glad you enjoy it. It's yeah, the thing that I really enjoy about it too is that it's interesting. You know, you could almost argue that it's like multiplayer solitaire, right? Because you're concentrating on your own duchy, and there's not really a whole lot of interaction other than people just taking your stuff,
yeah,
right?
that happened
From
several times.
yeah, but you know, it's an overwhelming game when you first look at it. Like, holy smokes, what the heck is going on? And it, like you said, it doesn't help that the colors are so close to each other,
Yeah.
and if you're colorblind, it's even worse. But yeah, but once you learn the rules, it's actually fairly simple. Do you know what I mean? It's
It
like,
yeah, it is. That was
yeah,
what a
it's
couple of the people that played
deceptive.
it said the same thing. It looks like it's like the two people that are brand new sat down, they're like, "Oh boy," and it's
What are
like,
we in for?
yeah, and I'm thinking the same thing because I'm like, I got to teach this, but it really, there really is, yeah, it's simple. It's like you roll your dice, you roll your two dice, you figure out what you're going to do with them, and that's it,
Yeah,
and then it's just like learning what everything else does, and it's like once, I think this is one that once you've played it even like one time, by the end of the game, you're like, okay, okay, I could play this again and do better. You'd have that feeling, okay, this makes sense now.
yeah,
I get
exactly.
how this all works. And it looks, yeah, people that were at the other table were just like, oh crap, I want no part of that. That looks too much. But it's really not.
They're
So
like, oh, that's one of those scary Euro games.
yeah,
We'll go back
exactly.
to our Monopoly game. But yeah, yeah, you know, like you said, it's just you roll two dice. There's two things you can do, right? And it's either what do you want to take or what do you want to place, and that's really about
Yeah.
it. But there's all these options. That's all it is, and it's like figuring out what to do and when. So I'm I'm really glad you enjoyed it, and if you ever want a rematch, I'll happily beat you by 1 point again.
Okay. I'm going to. Is I need to beat you at your own game. So,
And that's what I need to do to you. I need to beat you at your own game trying to beat me.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I I contained myself and I didn't talk a whole lot about it because I wanted to get your reaction on the show.
Oh, awesome.
But so Castles of Burgundy, and then there's one other thing I was going to mention, but I'll talk about this first. I played a game called Finca, which and actually I was thinking about this because you know, like next week or next show we're going to do our 2024 2023, you know, best of show, you know, what we enjoyed the most. And I was kind of like compiling a list of what I wanted to talk about, and I was like, man, I'm playing a lot of old games, and it's like not even like games that didn't come out this year, but it's like games that are like 10 plus years old, and it's just weird to me. It just there's certain games that I enjoy, and I tend to bring them out actually for multiple reasons. Number one, I really enjoy them, and number two, I can flex on other people and say, how do you like this game? It's really nice. You like it? Well, it's out of print, you can't get it, haha. That's kind of mean, isn't it? That's really mean.
That is so wrong.
I guess you'll have to play with me.
Exactly. That's a
Yeah,
good
there you
point,
go.
right?
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, the game that I played, and I think I might have talked about because I played it a couple times this year. I want to say, actually, maybe that was before we started the show that I played it last. But it's called Finca. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we didn't talk about it on the show, but
I don't think you
Finca,
did.
yeah, Finca is this really cool old game by Ralph Zerlind and Wolfgang Sundker, where it's on the island of Majorca, if I remember correctly. And basically, they're known for like windmills and fruits and stuff like that. So, what you're basically doing is you are you have workers in I believe it's called a rondel. So it's like a circular thing. Think of like windmill blades. Actually, that is what it is in the game. And there's windmill blades, and you have workers that go in a circle on the different windmill blades. And there's, I don't know, maybe like a dozen of them around there. And uh, what happens is that um, you will collect fruits based on like where you land. And what's really interesting is that you move based on the number of workers that are on that same tile, on that same not tile, on the windmill blade. So, for example, if your worker is the only one there, you can move up one blade. But if there's three other workers there, then you can move up what is it, four blades or three blades. So, but it's interesting. So you basically go along this rondel and you collect the different fruits. There's like oranges and plums and lemons and whatever. And there's what you do is when you collect these, you basically collect these tiles that are on the main board, and that's what scores you points. So you're basically like moving your dudes around in this rondel, collecting fruits, cashing them in for points. And it probably sounds so stupid, but it's actually a lot of fun. And it's just interesting because you're sitting there and you're plotting, kind of like, well, I got this dude here, you know, where can I move that'll net me the most amount of stuff?
Right.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about it. And this is an old game. I would say this is like a classic um, Euro game, or as they call them, soulless Euro. But it's a lot of fun, and it feels so good to get it out every once in a while, and put it on, get it on the table. And it all of the fruits are these like little wooden meeples, right? And it's just a good time. So who knows? Maybe when we have our this board game life con next year, maybe we'll throw this one out on the table
Okay.
as well. But yeah, Finca is good. It actually, I want to say it got a reprint, like
In
the first
2018,
reprint. So yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago.
but it came out originally in 2009, it looks like, according to
Okay.
BGG.
Yeah. Yeah, you see what I'm
Because
talking about with.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures of the rondel.
Actually, I'm curious to see because I knew that it was getting reprinted. Let me see if it looks different. I'm just curious.
I'm looking at like the 2009, and it's just like a bunch of ladies playing the game. Oh no, here's some dudes.
Oh wow, people printed like they 3D printed a whole bunch of stuff. Well, there's not a lot of pictures on BGG.
There is on
Oh,
the original of the 2009 release. I'm looking at that one now.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So yeah, I went on Finca 2018.
So
Yeah, I want to say it looks pretty much the same.
yeah, it seems to be
Yeah, but yeah, it's a really fun game.
cool.
Definitely enjoyed it. And Ralph can't talk. Ralph Zerlind, um, he's a good designer. Makes some good stuff. Like what are some of these other ones that he made? Finca, Pergamon. It's another game that I like. Ooh, Milestones. That's another one that I like. Oh, he made Dizzle. I don't really like that one. That's a rolling right.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah. So there was that, and then for some reason I've got this game called Genties that I got years ago. So there's this company called Tasty Minstrel Games, which has since gone out of business, and they did a deluxeified version of Genties, uh, which I had opened up. And you know how you go through and you like punch the pieces and stuff like that on a game
Oh yeah.
and you prep it. So I started to do it and there was a lot of stuff in it. And it was one of those games that had stickers, which I really freaking hate. Do you,
Oh
do
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? It's like, you get like the wooden pieces and then you got to put those stickers on there.
Yep.
And it's a real pain in the butt. I did
Yep.
a little pro tip. If you do stickers, it really helps to have a pair of tweezers
Oh really?
because yeah, if you're holding the wooden piece in one hand and you've got the sticker with tweezers, you can usually place it a lot straighter and more centered than if you use your big like caveman fingers
My
to,
big nubs,
to
yeah.
do it. Yeah, that's like trying to put a sticker on with your elbows sometimes is what it feels like. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I started punching the game and then I forget exactly what happened, but it's like I needed to clear the table. And so I just put everything on a stack and I left the box open. And then the box fell over. And then I just wound up having to pick everything up and I moved it. And it actually sat like that for I don't even know how long. I don't know how many months. So I was like, I'm going to actually finish setting this game up and then, I'll go through like a playthrough because that was my motivation to just go through into my old games.
Right.
And so, needless to say, I couldn't find a bunch of the pieces because, it hit the floor like who knows how long
Yeah.
ago.
Yep.
And so then I've got it was up in my bed in the spare bedroom where I have a lot of my board games and stuff. So I'm like, man, I got to start going through this stuff because it's just basically like the junk room, the board game room. It just a whole bunch of crap up there. So that wound up being my project for like 3 days this weekend. Is to work on that room. And you also inspired me to go through my collection
Oh.
and kind of get stuff, trimmed down. Needless to say, I did a fantastic job in the room and I never found those pieces for Genties yet. But
Oh.
I still think I still think I know where it's at because it's a little bag of these rectangular pieces that I'm missing, these wooden pieces. I
Uh-huh.
think that it hit the ground and then I didn't know what it was, so I threw it in this bin where I threw all the promos in because at this point I have no idea what they're for.
Right.
Because it's just like 5 cards, no idea what game it's for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I threw it in there, and I haven't had time to go through that, but yeah, that was interesting, and that presented a quandary a little bit. It's like, what do I do if I can't find those pieces? It's like, do I substitute? Do I
You might
throw the
have
whole
to.
thing into garbage?
You
And
buy a 3D printer and print what you need.
oh, there you go. Oh, that's a good idea. That's yeah. I like your thinking. Thank you for that idea. My wallet hates you, by the way. But
Yeah, that's
but
okay.
my but the thing I was going to mention is Tasty Minstrel, the company that did it is out of business. So it's like I can't even write them and go, hey, can I get some replacement pieces? Which kind of stinks. So so yeah, that was kind of interesting. Anyway, I blabbed on too much. I know I think we got a time limit on this show. So how about you? What have you been playing?
It's a good thing I haven't played anything. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
So since our
Well,
last
we
recording,
got Castles of Burgundy out of the way, so we don't need to talk about that one.
yeah. So out of since the last time we talked, I use BG stats, and I just put every time I play a game, I put in who was playing, what our scores were, who won, where we were at, how long, and basically it's just for me to kind of keep track of what I'm playing, what I haven't played. And I noticed the other day that I had enough games played that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm close to averaging one per day for the whole year. And
Wow. Yeah.
so right now, as of the recording of this on December 12th, I have 347 plays so far. So I only need 18 more plays to hit, in the last couple of weeks, which is going to be easy, especially since my kids are coming home. My two oldest are coming home. I'm going to make them play. So, um, I'll definitely hit that. I'm shooting for that just to get one game a day in for the year. And I'm also working. I did a big purge of my library. I still have more to do, but I went through and I got rid of a lot of like party games. I cleared out all the games that my kids had. So when this thing started a little over a year ago, it was because I wanted to find something different. I needed a hobby. I needed something to do. And I remember, we got all these board games. We got them all collected and put in my office and on a shelf so we could see them, and took them out of the closet and kids' rooms and under beds they were everywhere.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then it just kind of kick-started me to, okay, I want this, I want this. Well, now it's like, okay, I've got over 300 games. Okay, kids, they're getting all the kids' games are off my shelves. They're out of my collection. They're back in the kids' rooms. Like, I don't need to track the 18 versions of Monopoly we have, because I don't care about Monopoly. So I've removed all those from my collection as being owned. They're out of my shelves. They're kids. We sorted them the other day, and my youngest, I was like, go put this in your brother's room, go put these in your sister's room, go put these in your room. And then everything else that I really didn't want or haven't played or don't play or don't plan to play, I put them in boxes. I had 5 boxes of games that I took into my game store last week to sell to them, because they buy used games and then they resell them in their used section, which I've bought some stuff from them. I found things that I couldn't find anywhere else, happened to show up there. I'm like, sweet. Um, so I got a call yesterday, and they had quoted me my price, and it was better than expected. I'm sure if I had retailed everything out, I would probably be crying, but it was a lot more than I expected to get. And so I go in there tomorrow, and it's store credit, but I still gonna plan to buy games. But now it's like, after that year, it's like I know what I want, and I don't need to buy all. I don't have that need. I got to buy
Yeah.
everything anymore.
You
That
can
really
be more
has.
selective. Yeah.
Yes, I want to buy things I want to play. So, and now even when I'm playing with other people and they pull something out that I like, it's like, okay, but now I'm thinking, well, for the most part, my older kids are gone who like to play, and it's just my mother and I who I play, or with my game group. And if someone in my game group already has it, I don't need to buy it. One of the guys in the in the group said that. He's like, "Why do I need to buy it if the group has it? I can play it. I just say, hey, can you bring this and we'll play it?" Yep. And that's a great point. Saves me a lot of money. Then I can buy the things that maybe people in the group don't have that I can bring and play with them. So I now have shelf space. I have reorganized my shelves. I got stuff on display with nothing behind them. So,
That's
but anyways,
opportunity.
yeah, I told you, I said, now I have a problem, I mean opportunity to
Yep.
fill my shelves. Well, the Barnes and Noble day after Christmas buy one get one half off board games is coming up. I will be at my Barnes and Noble on the 26th of December. So,
Nice.
um, and I will probably go crazy like I did last time, but it will be some more selective this time, and maybe I won't because I don't know what they're going to have that I maybe don't yet have.
Oh, you can
So
go
it
there
might
and
not be
scout it.
as
Yeah, see
go
see if
ahead,
there's
go up there the day before.
yeah, see if there's anything good over there because you
My
know,
store that I go to has a huge game
yeah,
selection.
yeah,
They
somehow,
really
yeah,
do. Some have very little. This one
yeah.
is a very large selection, so they have a ton of stuff. So I know I'll buy a couple of things, but it'll be more selective. So, but what I have played this last in the last 2 weeks, I got a lot of new stuff played. So I got to finally play Rolling Realms,
Okay,
which is a lot of fun. And I did end up buying a bunch of promo cards for that game, so they're on the way here. So it'll really expand that and make that like a lot more cards. It comes with like 11 different cards. If you're familiar with it, it's based off of, I think it's Jamie Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games. I think that's his name. He made the game during COVID. He created this so like people could play games like via Zoom and stuff. And I guess it became so popular, people were asking for a real printing of it. And I guess they never intended to do it, but they have. And now they've, so it comes with 11 writable cards, right? Write erasable marker cards, whatever, that you can write on an erase. And you get two dice and you roll the dice, and everyone that's playing, shares the dice. Um, but everyone has, and you're playing off the same cards, and there's like 11 possible cards um in the stack. I think it's only 10 because you're only, I think, no, it is, I'm pretty sure it's 11 cards, and it represents 11 of their Stonemaier games. And there's different ways to play the cards and stuff based on dice rolls and stuff, but there's a whole bunch of more. You can buy just card packs of all these other games that they've made for Rolling Realms. So I've got a bunch of them on the way to basically expand that and give more options, more card options. It's a fun game. It's very much like dice cards. So dice cards might have been created from Rolling Realms, and they've just kind of, it's very similar but a little different. Um, I like Rolling Realms better because you're only dealing with 3 cards at a time. But in dice cards, you have 6 cards that you're dealing with, but you also have 50 turns to work on all of those. Where in Rolling Realms, you're only doing nine dice rolls per 3 cards, and then you switch cards out. So it's different, and there's like different resources in Rolling Realms, or dice cards just has, you can get stars to do things. So Rolling Realms have a lot of other options, like you can get the stars to get your points, or you can get resources to try to help you build on other things. So it's a lot more, I think, strategic than dice cards, but both are great games if you like the kind of roll and write type of game. Um, Also played Next Station Tokyo. Um, this is one I could probably do without because I have Next Station London. I've only played each of them once. I think I prefer the London one. The Tokyo one does provide some different options, but it seems to be London seems a little easier, especially if you're new to that type of game. But it was still a good game. I've heard of Fuji Flush a million times, and someone broke it out. Um, I got to actually be introduced to Fuji Flush and play some rounds of that. Played some Take Five. Played another round of Power Grid. I did a lot better. It was probably my best game yet. I didn't
nice.
win, but it was definitely my best game so far. So I'm
Is it
I'm getting
is it
better at that.
is it growing on you a little bit or
It is. I even said that to the group, and they're like, "Oh, you don't enjoy this?" I said, "Yeah, it's. I play it. That's what people want to play. I would never probably pick it, but after the last time we played, I felt like, okay, I've got more houses out. I've got more power plants. I've got more money. It was the best game I had in it so
yeah.
far.
Okay.
And it's like, because it's starting to make more sense. There's a lot of moving parts to that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
That's a
would
heavy
never want
game.
to run that game because of like, there's too many things of like who goes first for this, and then it rotates of who buys first, and it's just like I would struggle with keeping track of that. So it's like you got to really know the game, but I am enjoying it. Played Castles of Burgundy as we mentioned. Also, I broke out my Shelfie. I've had this one for a while. Hadn't played it. Very simple game. If you are looking to get someone new into gaming, if they've ever played Connect 4, it's not Connect 4, but you can kind of relate it to that because you got the little plastic grid that you're, instead of dropping dominoes down and trying to get four of the same color in a row, you have that type of grid, but it basically represents a bookshelf. And then there's all these tiles on the quote living room floor on the board in front of you. And you can take tiles, certain tiles, and then you're trying to, there's like a personal goal of getting these certain colored tiles in a certain space on your bookshelf. And you go, the game goes until somebody completely fills their bookshelf, and then that ends the game. And then you score points based on the types of things, the different, basically the different colored tiles that are together. The more you have together, the more points you get. Meeting your personal goals, then there's like group goals. So there's a lot of various ways to try to play and get points, and it's real simple game um, to play, and it's actually a lot of fun. Also, I got to play Kingdomino Duel. That's very different take on King Domino, but it was a lot of fun. It's a roll and write, and it's just for two players. Um, pretty simple once you get it figured out. I got some more rounds of Gloomhaven in. We had a match. Oh man, I'll tell you what. I've my character. I'm the what am I? I'm like this Stormweaver or something like that. And normally I don't get a lot of kills. I usually can do damage to people. I'm usually not strong enough to like kill someone. In fact, the running joke is that oh, Mark's going to come in and everyone he hits he'll leave him with one hit point, which happens a lot. Um, but the last match we played, oh man, we there were so many enemies on the board that everyone was like, "Oh man, we were finally going to lose a round," because when we started the campaign, we lost our very first mission.
Okay.
And then so we replayed it and we got it, and we haven't lost since. And the other night, like I said, our last one we were playing the other night, it was we really everyone was like, should we just start over? Should we just, and I was like, let's just play it out. You never know. Dude, I ended up killing 7 enemies myself, which never happens. I had some wicked shots. I like my character came to life the other night. And I just it was like so much fun. It was a crazy mission. Like our tank ended up getting exhausted. The other one of the people were they were going to basically they were done. They had run out of cards, so they didn't have another turn left. The I had because of my person, I had plenty of cards left because I had just resupplied. The Stormweaver gets a limited amount of cards, but you can. There's one in there that allows me to pull all my cards back that have been burned, and I had basically just done that right here at the end, and so I still had a lot of moves left, but I ended up basically wiping pulling more than my weight than normal, and we actually pulled it off and won, and it was like so rewarding and so exciting. So we are still working on Gloomhaven. Then we played after that. We played a quick round of Don't Llama, little card game, quick little card game. And because the lady that we meet at her house for Gloomhaven, she was like, she knows I'm trying to hit that 365 games played, so she pulled out Don't Llama. It's like, well, we got to play some more games. We got to get you to 365. So we did a quick round of
Nice.
that. And then I introduced my mother to Dice Throne, and took it over last night, and we played Santa versus Krampus. So and she won as Santa. So she beat me as Krampus.
Nice. Nice.
So it was she'd never played, and she was like, "Well, it's only because you're playing yourself. You beat yourself, is what you did." And I'm like, "Because I'm helping her, Well, here's
Yeah.
recommendations." And she got to throw an ultimate. And I'm
Oh,
helping her
that's your
explain how to do that.
kryptonite.
Yes, yes. So she didn't win with it, but um, she did beat me. So yeah. But she's like, it was a lot for her to take in, but she's like, okay, I think at the end of it, she goes, I'd like to play this again sometime soon. She's like, she thinks she could probably figure it out.
Yeah, like
So
while
I'm
it's
like, okay,
fresh. Yeah.
yeah, that happens a lot. So, but all right, so that's all I played, and I know we only got about 40 minutes left, and I want to talk about. Last week, you asked me about what it's been like my first year in the hobby. So, this episode, I would like you to
Turn
talk
the
about
tables.
your last 13 plus years in the hobby.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of questions, but I'll kind of leave it to you to share what you want. But my first question for you, maybe this will just kind of launch in. We don't have to. You don't have to like you have to answer any of these questions. These are just here to if we need them. But I am
Like,
curious
where were
because
you on
you
the
and I,
night of August the
yeah.
14th? I have no idea.
So I've known you for a long time, Rob. Long, long time. You and I became best friends in high school, and you're still my bestie to this day. Um,
Likewise.
just don't
Yep.
don't let my daughter hear that. Um,
I
but
I was first, no matter what.
yeah. So we've known
Yeah.
each other for a very long time,
Yes.
and I've always known you as a video gamer. And at some point, you became this great big board gamer, and it seemed to kind of take over. And I noticed, like, when we were doing the other podcast for the Xbox, you're like, I didn't play anything, and you'd always talk about these board games you played. So how did you get started into board gaming? Like, what drew you to it?
That's a really good question. I have to say that, like, the actual beginning was when I was little, right? Where, like, the first real gaming that I really remember doing was like I was playing bingo with my grandma, and then there were like some card games where we would just play it like here and there, and it was fun. I didn't appreciate, I'll call it, like, board game tabletop gaming as much as I do now, but I really enjoyed it. And going through school, there would be like the occasional board game that I would get, and like to this day I wish I didn't part with some of them because I just have like so many fond memories of them. And that kind of led through grade school, high school. There was always like some stuff just occasionally, right? I used to play chess with my dad. you know Bingo was always there. We'd play like Monopoly, like here and there, just like your typical board games. And back when we were kids, there were some actually pretty fun board games that a lot of people didn't get, because everybody's so used to like this, Sorry, Trouble, Monopoly, Shoots and Ladders, like the ones that you hear about all
Yeah.
the time. But there were some really crazy ones, think like some that had like dexterity to them, like an easy one is Operation, right? Where you're actually like doing something, and they had like some cool components, and it's like when toys were toys, and probably a
Yeah.
lot more dangerous than they are now too. Probably made of a lot more lead and who knows what else. But anyway, um, so I had a fondness for games back then. In fact, I remember there's this one awesome one. It was like some treasure game where you had this think of like Operation, right? Where there's like these holes, and there's a spinning disc with like treasure on it underneath the main board, and you had this like little, I don't know if it was like tweezers or this magnetic thing, but you were trying to get the treasure coins out through the little holes. And if you ever touched the edges, it would complete a circuit, and then there'd be like a wheel that would spin. So like you lose all your treasure and you lose your turn. So there's like all sorts of like fun stuff like that, a little bit of tension. It was interesting. And after that, I did go down the computer road, right, with VIC 20, Commodore 64, Amiga, and then eventually PC. And I mean, we went down that road together with, for quite some time as well, just into video games, and then that led to console games and stuff. And then I largely forgot about it, and then it was sometime in the early 2000s. I'm like, there's got to be some really cool board games because we had Trivial Pursuit. Remember that game?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So and that was like another one. That was like the more modern board game. I don't even remember when that came out. It was like somewhere in the 80s, probably mid to late 80s. But I'm like, there's got to be like some cool new stuff. So it was somewhere maybe around 2001, 2002 ish, something like that. I'm like, let me see what's like really good. And I want to say that that's when I first found BGG. I didn't know what it was, but I found some lists, and I want to say Amazon was around already, but I don't even remember when Amazon started. Probably in the 90s. But there were some like buying guides, and I'm like, I'm going to get some board games. So I trolled through the lists and I picked up a bunch, and then I would take him to parties and stuff. And there were like, I want to say I had like Cranium. There's one called Time's Up. There's a whole bunch of them. Like they're really fuzzy right now on what they were. I think I've got most of them still, but it was just kind of fun to play, and they were all like party games, which was, I mean, it was fun. Everybody's like having a good time and laughing and everything like that. And then that kind of died down a little bit, and then it was around 2008 or so, because I want to say it was right when we started the Xbox podcast. My son had been born already, and I was in a mall and I stopped at this game store, and I'm like, let me get something new and interesting. So I was talking to the guy, and he recommended Catan and Dominion. So I picked him up and I brought him home, and I actually didn't do anything with him for a while. Just kind of like, I'm going to play these games, and, we're just going to have fun, do it like, have some home gaming and stuff. And then uh, my wife just told me, it's like, hey, let's play some board games. And we had Clue and a couple others. So we played Clue. And then I'm like, hey, I've got this other stuff. Let's let's give it a try. So then we tried Dominion, and I'm like, this is really cool. It was like nothing that, you know, we were used to, right? Growing up in the States with mass market, Toys R Us games. Was nothing that we're used to. And we really enjoyed Dominion. And then it turned into like, well, you know, what else do they have? And then you know how that goes. it it just snowballs from there. And yeah, that led to me actually going back to BGG. And I don't know if I created an account right away, but yeah, the thing is like when you go on BGG and once you're in the environment, then it kind of sucks you in. And then, especially if you follow it and you're reading it all the time, you're watching the videos, that's what I think really snowballs the acquisition disorder, because then you're like, oh, there's all this cool stuff. Oh, they said this is awesome, and then it just grows from there. And then you actually, you know, start learning what you do like and what you don't like, what works, what doesn't, and it kind of took off from there. And I just checked. I didn't create a BGG account until 2011, so it was quite a while later that I did. Actually, I didn't update my profile in 3 years. No, 2 years
Oh.
as well. But you can troll through there without having an account and stuff. So,
Right.
but but yeah, that's how it all started, and here we are, right? Like, man, years later. But there was something else I was going to mention. What the heck was it? Yeah, and it went from, and you know how this goes. It went from, just having, a couple of games on a shelf in a closet to where am I going to put the sofa? Because the shelf needs to go behind the sofa, the new shelf.
Yeah. Or what room is this game going to
Yeah,
go
it's like
into?
all I want for Christmas is a new shelf. I don't want
Yep.
any games. Just give me a shelf and a new addition to the house. But but yeah, that's kind of like how it initially got started. You know, it had like a bunch of false starts. Well, not even false starts. They were like little glimmers, right? It's kind of like when you're lighting the fire and you get that little glow, and then it like fades out, then you get the glow again, and then it catches, and then it's a raging it's a raging fire
Oh yeah.
consuming your entire house, literally. But yeah, and then the rest is kind of just it kind of grew from there. And what was really kind of interesting was that, so I was on BGG, and we what was that? I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it's like I started asking questions and stuff, and then this guy responded to one of my messages, and it turns out it was the guy that I worked with,
Oh
Jeff.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know Jeff, I think.
Yep, I do.
And yeah, because we all worked at the same place. So um, so I really forget exactly how it was that he recognized who I was. Who I was. I think it might have been posting something about the suburbs of Chicago or whatever. But anyway, so then we started talking, and then we had a couple of game nights together, and then he brought up like doing a podcast, and I'm like, hey, I do a podcast. I'll do it with you. You wanna? And so that's how this board game life started initially, where Jeff was. I think we did like 20 some episodes, 20, 30 episodes together, and then he decided to get out of the hobby. He kind of had a shift with stuff, and so he stopped doing the show, and then I did a couple of shows with my wife. I think we did a couple that were just like full shows together. And then she did a couple of spots, and we did some full shows. Then I did a bunch of solo shows, and then we did a hiatus when there was like lots of stuff going on, and here we are. You and me were reunited.
And it feels
It's
so
so good.
good.
Yeah. Okay. Mental note: Rob and Mark, do not ever sing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just lost some listeners, but yeah, but like here we are today, and what's cool is I don't know. I think I mentioned this to you. In some ways, I'm reliving my past, hearing you going through your stuff. It's like, which is like endearing. It's kind of like it's like watching your kid grow up and take these big steps. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like the synopsis as I babbled for like half an hour about that stuff. But
You've been talking for like 10 minutes.
oh, that's it. It feels like a
That's
lot
it.
longer. Okay, so I got time.
Do you currently know how big your collection is? Do you have a guess if you don't know for
Oh, no freaking idea. No idea whatsoever. I can tell
not big
you.
enough, right?
Oh, it's big enough. Um, I will actually admit it's too big.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I I don't know exactly how many games I set aside this past weekend. Um, but it was probably at least 100,
Yeah.
and that barely made a dent. So
Yeah.
I just looked up in BGG. So I stopped logging my games in BGG about 10 years ago.
Oh
and at
man.
and at that time, my owned was 289.
Oh
So
wow.
but I mean, some of those are. I think I want to say some are expansions, but I mean, a lot of them are, um, like the full games. So I don't know how many. It's over 1,000 for sure. But
Wow.
yeah, I have a problem. Yeah, shelf space and floor space. That's my problem. No,
Oh.
but the thing is, it's like I have never culled my collection ever in all these years, and that's a problem because I have so many games that I have no interest in anymore. And a lot of there's not a lot of the games. There's a significant amount of games too that it's like I bought with the intention of playing for other people. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, so and so likes this. So, I'll get this game so we can play. Or I'll get this game to convince them to like board games, which is a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've mentioned it like just when we've talked about it, where it's like just buy games for yourself. Don't buy them from other people. Don't buy them for your kids because it's just you're wasting shelf space and wasting money. They'll play stuff that you like, and it's just a better use of time, money, and space. And there was another mistake that I had made as well of just buying games because they were on sale or on
Yeah.
clearance or super cheap. Because in the end, you have a game that you don't want anyway, and you got
Yep.
it. And so there were a lot of games. Like I used to go through the thrift stores. I mean, I didn't find a whole lot, but it's like I got games through there, and then when Amazon would have a $10 game, I'd pick it up, which were usually like old Z-Man clearance games and stuff. And it's a $10 game because nobody wants it. It's not that it's a horrible game. I mean, it might be, but it's not a good game. And I mean, realistically, we should have good games in our collection, not,
Yeah.
because you can look at it this way, right? Where, like, would you buy foods to throw in your refrigerator that you don't like just because it's on sale? No.
Nope.
Well, I'd hope you wouldn't. But it's kind of the same thing. So that's where I went through and I was just like pulling boxes off the shelf. I'm like, I remember exactly where I got these games. I'm like, yeah, I got this from Amazon. And there was this one thing that they had years ago, which was so Z-Man Games would do like a clearance through this company in Arizona. I forgot what it was called, but they would have these like fantastic deals on just these Z-Man games. It's like I'll call them like B titles. There's just games that like weren't very popular. Like, did you ever hear of a game called Hornet?
No.
Exactly, exactly. And you probably never will, well, other than me mentioning it. And there's like one called Swarm, and um, I also the original company that did Mayfair Catan. It's called Mayfair Games. They're based out of Chicago area here in a suburb called Skokie. So right before they closed down a number of years ago and sold Catan to Asmodee, um, they were like dumping games into like the local thrift stores. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I got like I'm looking in this one area that I haven't gone through yet, and there's like a game called Justinian Oceania. I can't see the others from this angle, but these are just games that, I mean, they were brand new in Shrink, and it's like, I never would have gotten this game if it wasn't like $4 or $5. But still, it's like I got a $4 or $5 game, which is awesome, but it's one that I really had no interest in otherwise, other than, oh, let me get a game. It's cheap and it fits. It scratches that acquisition disorder itch. But yeah, it's and I'd like to say that you did inspire me just based on you going through your games and you know making your stack. And I've got two stacks. One is like this local board game store has an auction twice a year. So I'm going to go over there and drop those off at the next auction, which is, I believe, in the spring. I believe it just happened. And yeah, and see how that goes. So, those are the more worthy games.
Yeah.
And then like these, you know, goofy games, I don't even know what I'm going to do with them. So we'll see. But yeah, I have no idea. And you'll you'll see. You'll see when we have this board game life con
Okay.
in the near future.
As
But
long as the games don't force me to sleep on the floor, because
no,
then I'm gonna be like, I'll call the collection for you.
you can sleep in my car. How about that? And gas is expensive. I can't run the car, so you just got to
There
dress
you
warm.
go.
Yeah. So
Um,
anyway,
have you? Oh, have you had any kind of? Have you over the years? Have you developed like a favorite type of like game mechanic? Or I
hmm
always talk about how you like.
yeah.
Seems like you really like your Euro games, but it is, do you like Euro games? Or is it that like what you prefer? Or and if so, what is it about it? Or do you have a specific type of game mechanic that you prefer to play?
So the classification of games has really changed over the years, and it's it's really interesting. Like the gaming landscape is a lot different now than it was even just a couple of years ago, I think. So it's evolutionary to some degree because initially the gaming world, I'll call it the tabletop hobbyist games, they were like really tough to find here. And then you had like, oh, I'm getting these games from Europe. Oh, look at this. And games didn't even have like English versions because they were all in German, French, whatever. And you had to do your translations. And Then, we had what was called Ameritrash games, which were like highly themed games, versus the Euros, which were like very dry and sometimes even abstract. And so you had like those two different classifications, and there was like evolutions. You started having your deck builders, your area control, your pick up and deliver. It's like all these different mechanisms. It's like it just kept growing and growing, and it's there's been people that have been into hobbies since like the 80s and earlier, with like the old school Avalon Hill games. And I think what
Oh,
3M was a company that had games as well. And I always wonder, I'm like, I was going to look it up. I'm like, is that the same guys that make the respirators
tape.
and the tape and all that stuff? But, so there had been this like huge evolution up until like the late 90s, early 2000s. And there's been this huge shift. And it's like, what else can they think of? And they do. I mean, there's a lot of copycatting, but, there's, there's certain things in games that like I find really like interesting, and it's like when I do them, they feel good. It's like you feel good about what you just did, like you feel smart of
Yeah.
like and and actually, so it's like a double thing, and I'm sort of tangenting this a little bit, but it's a double thing. There's you feel good about what you did on the board per se, if there's a board or with the cards. You feel good about like what you just did, how you played the game, and it also feels good to like learn a new game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's that's like a double thing. It doesn't always feel good to try to learn a game for the first time by yourself reading a book, a rule book, but it does feel good when you learn a game for the first time and it's like, I got this. I understand these rules, and it's like, and they're interesting rules. And then it's doubly interesting when you play the game and you did something successfully. Like one of my favorites, and this is where I'm starting to answer your question. One of my favorite things is like engine building. Engine building, pick up and deliver is another one that I really enjoy. And it's like when you do an engine building thing, that's like where it's like, you do this thing to create coins, which then lets you buy ore, which then lets you fuel this machine, which, it's like circular, right? It gives you one resource to use somewhere else to eventually turn into victory points. I guess that's the final destination of it all. It doesn't matter what it is, coins or feathers, wheat, whatever. The final destination is victory points, because a shared victory is not acceptable. But yeah,
Nice.
but I really do enjoy. Um, I enjoy deck building to a point, but I really like pick up and deliver, and I like action selection. That's a good one too. And then so engine building, pick up and deliver, and action selection. Those are probably my big three that I enjoy. So like a lot of the games that I like tend to have some of that, like one or more of those. Just those what do they call that? A Skinner box. Remember that thing from video games where it's like that reward loop that keeps you playing the game. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, those are mine. Those are definitely mine. But on the flip side, I'm not a huge fan of games where you do like negotiating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, they're fine, but it's not as, yeah, it doesn't get me as much. I mean, so like Catan kind of falls into that list, and I really don't care for like certain area controls. area control games, just where it's like you're fighting for an area. I'd rather just get an area than to have to worry about defending it. I guess
So
that's,
no
that's
risk for you, huh?
yeah, yeah. Risk is okay, but yeah, Axis and Allies risk in those, or I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones, the board game. Ugh. Yeah, I think I mentioned that once. We played at Gen Con. It was like a 6 hour long game. I was freaking dying, and my phone battery died like halfway through the game, so I was like helpless. And it was like a 6 player game, so
Oh,
it
that's
took
too long of a game,
yeah,
man.
yeah, it took forever. But yeah, yeah. So those are my favorites. And then yeah, moving on.
Anything that you refuse to play? Like, have you played stuff that you just, I don't want to say hate, but absolutely do not enjoy?
So there's nothing that I won't play. I'll play anything because part of the enjoyment of games for me is the experience. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
I enjoy playing with other people and the interaction and just hanging around, and it's especially like if it's I'm sure you know what I mean. It's like especially if it's people that it's like you're going through this shared experience, and then you're also like chit chatting, like, oh, how's your family, this and that. So it's like a social thing, right?
Right.
It's like a social thing, and then the game is like what brings you together. But like lesser favorites of mine are definitely like anything that's like more party game. I I mean, if I play them, I'll I'll have a good time, but I won't choose them, if that makes sense. It's like,
Yeah, I think the party game depends on the group that you're
oh,
playing with too.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Or let's put it this way. Like, if it came to playing like apples to apples or castles of Burgundy, there's only one answer for what I want to play.
Right.
There's not even an option. But but the thing is, because I was thinking about this a little bit, and that's it's not that I don't like party games. Some of them are like really fun and you laugh and you have a great time and you're silly, right? Especially those that like, there's that one that stretches your mouth open. You know what I'm talking about? You put that thing in your
I've
mouth.
seen it. Yeah, there's no way I would do that.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, yeah. You're trying to tell them like, well, you can't hear your Burgundy. It's like you're trying to uh, just say something ridiculous and hopefully you brush your teeth and don't have food in your mouth. Who knows? But I think the thing is that I really not crave complexity, but it's more interesting when a game has more interesting decisions in it. So the party games are like too light. And I was actually going to ask you sometime at some point because I know you had purchased a lot of like the lighter games. Like if you had gone through this yourself, where it's not that the games are bad, it's just that they're not satisfying. It's like empty calories. It's like you're hungry, right? It's like you're hungry for
Right.
food, and then you have some Cheetos, and you're like, what the heck did I just eat? It's just like, I don't feel full. My fingers are orange, and and I'm still in the same predicament that I was before. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the thing. It's just like it's they're maybe that's a good way to put it. They just don't scratch that. gaming itch of feeling satisfied afterwards or having made like smart decisions or something like that. And but again, don't get me wrong, it's um, they're not bad games. It just
Right. I
yeah.
I agree with you on the party games. Like I've got a couple that one of them was I think it was the Fun Facts, which
Hmm.
was what this year's Spiel something award winner. Man, I have a problem with the winners of this year's Spiel awards because I think Fun Facts was another one, and that's the one with like the little chevrons and
Oh yeah.
like
Hmm.
it's you write your answer and then everyone's moving the thing around, and I just found that one kind of boring.
It's yeah, it's dry.
It's
Yeah.
very dry. It's like, something like Just One is so much better. I've had so much fun with that game in a group. Um, that one has turned out to be a lot of fun, but the one that's like Fun Facts is you have to really play with people that you know. You can't play it in like a group of like a gaming group of people you may not know so well. Where Just One caters to that. Like it doesn't matter who you're with. Um, I remember playing like Code Names. I think is a really good game too. Once I learned how to play it the correct way, it's
And
actually I'm
that
like, wow, this is really a fun game.
and that matters by the way, right?
Yes, it does. It does know you got to know how to play it. It does. So I've seen some party games that are, I've purchased a few, and it's like, okay, this was a waste. Um, but they can serve their purpose, I think, for depending on the group, the age, the the abilities of the gamers. And that's why like that one I've been so harsh on this year, Challengers. I think yeah, it's probably great for like Dice Tower the other day was talking about it and they like it. And I'm just like, what? But I think what they liked about it and the way I took it was more of they like the tournament style of gameplay. And for me,
Yeah.
what I was
Mhm.
looking at was the game, you have no control over the game. It's all luck. Like you get to pick the cards you want to put in your team, but then it's completely like you're playing the old game of war with the standard deck of cards. You don't know what's coming up. So you can't go, I'm going to save this card. So when these two cards go away and they're on my bench, I can play this card to get them back in my hand. No, because that card might come up first, which had happened to me. Like, well, then that totally made it useless. So it's just a random thing. And it's like this really for someone, so that's where I've grown a lot too. It's like I started out with the light stuff, but now the light stuff, like you said, is not really filling.
Yeah.
Some of it can be, and
Oh
I
yeah.
do enjoy some of it,
No,
but
for
I'm
like a perfect example is I think you played No Thanks, right?
yeah,
Yeah, No Thanks. This game's
it's a
been
great
around
game.
forever. Very simple, but there's
Yep.
something about it that's fun. And it's, it doesn't scratch the gaming itch, quite like, you know, a more complex game, but it's like a great opener, right? Where
Yeah.
you just get down to the table, you can play a couple of games really quick, and then go into something a little heavier, a little meatier, or interesting. But there's a super light game. It's probably lighter than a lot of party games, even, right? Because it's a lot simpler, but it's a well done one.
Yeah, it is. So there's I've got several that I do like, several that I'll probably end up trying to get rid of that just like you said
Yeah.
just don't fit that anymore. Um, but again, that's part of growing in the hobby,
Oh
which I
yeah.
think is kind of the really neat thing. Where I just got rid of probably just got rid of over 100 games,
Hmm.
and I don't miss. It's like I'm fine with that because what I'm left with is stuff I really do want to play. Or maybe or I'm keeping them for a certain reason for a certain group. Like my mother who doesn't want to play the heavier games. Like I didn't think she liked Dice Throne. I knew it was going to be a little complicated. She's a senior, and But by the end of it, she was like, I'd like to play it again. I'm like, oh, that's what I like to hear. And I'm not going to throw something like Power Grid at her or Castles of Burgundy. I wouldn't throw that at her.
Hmm.
It just wouldn't work for her. But I want to have things that do. And she's really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah,
playing games. I bring games every time I go to her house now. I have at least 2 games with me, and we'll play.
nice,
We played
nice.
2 games last night. We played. I went over. I go over. We like to watch that show For All Mankind.
Oh,
So
great show.
now it's
Yep.
like I go over to her house on Friday nights, and her and I watch that. So we'll have dinner together. We'll watch our show. But I've also taken games over. So after the show, we sit and play some games. So it's
Hmm.
great because you know um, and what I've found is she's pretty darn smart. She kicks my butt at a lot of games, and
Yeah.
she's always like, "Oh, you're letting me win," or whatever. I'm like, no, because we've played with others that are younger that I thought were probably better at games. I'd always thought this in the past, and like they just couldn't figure it out. And I'm just like, you are better than they are, and they're quite a bit younger than you.
Hmm.
And we always thought was a good gamer, and it's like, and I'm like, no, mom, you're doing great at your age. You're doing
Yeah.
great. So, but it's fun because she's learning things, and she loves Seven Wonders Architects.
Oh
You know,
wow.
yeah, she actually asked me, "What? Bring that one where we built things." And I was like, "What are you talking about? The one with the pyramid? Oh yeah, I know exactly what it is." And yeah,
It's
she
like
loves it.
Seven Wonders Architects. Come
Architects.
on.
Yep.
Come on,
Yeah.
mom. Get with
Hey,
it.
I'm. Hey, if she's asking me to bring something, that's good enough. I'll figure it
I'll be
out.
right there.
Bring the one with the dice. That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
so,
That's a lot of games.
so, so I know
Yeah.
Castles of Burgundy is like up there. It's a favorite of yours. Do you have any others that
Oh
throughout
wow.
your time have reached that plateau of
Um,
favorites that you would never ever part with, even if you don't play it? You just have to have it.
there are quite a few actually. Um, that there's little components of it that I enjoy. Either, I have a fondness for some, like, let's say there's like a cube tower in there. I really think that's cool, or just some kind of setup in there that I enjoy. But man, like choosing some, that's tough. Like there's like so many that I just solidly enjoy and I've played so many times. And like if you go, hey, how about we play this? I'm like, boom, it's done. Let's play right now. And so Castles of Burgundy, that is like the easy one, of course. Um I like man, this is tough. I like there's a game called St. Petersburg. Really enjoy that. This is another like ancient game. Finca. Yeah. Like Finca is not never leaving my collection.
Yeah.
I'll be leaving my collection before it leaves the
Yeah.
collection. Um, man, Finca, like Alhambra. Man, I really feel like I should mention like some newer stuff though, because
Well,
I'm just blurting
newer
out.
stuff's hard if you have even if you've only got to play it once. It's harder to say where like some older stuff you've played a lot of times or had that's ingrained. It's like you love it. So that makes
Hmm.
sense. The newer stuff's harder because you haven't had as much time with it.
Yeah. Um, Stone Age was another one. Oh,
Oh, Stone Age.
Dragonheart. Remember Dragonheart? That little card game that you and I played a couple of times on Board Game Arena.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one's a good time.
if you say so.
Oh come on. Um,
uh,
yeah, that's just so tough. There's just like so many games, and There's like so many games that so like there's games that I like. Like I like Azul, but if it
Heck
came
yeah.
down to it, I mean, if I got to part with it, I got to part with it. Isn't that kind of crazy?
I
But
wouldn't want to get rid of Azul.
yeah, but it's like I wouldn't be. Well, not that I wouldn't be sad. I mean, I enjoy playing it, but I don't like love it. I know it's a guaranteed good time, but it's like I love Castles of Burgundy. I
Yeah.
really like Azul. Let's just, maybe we can put it that way. Um, Race for the Galaxy is another one that's pretty good. It's this cool card game. Um, Man, I'm just having such a hard time picking out games because
No, but you've given
yeah,
some good ones
yeah,
that gives us an idea. So
yeah. Most Stefan Feld games I really enjoy. Yeah.
cool.
How are we on time?
Well,
Are we
we
out?
gotta wrap
Couple
up.
wrap up. Okay.
Yep, as I gotta leave in 9 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
So got to get my son somewhere. But
No worries.
anything else you wanted to share about your gaming life, Rob's gaming life?
Yeah. I mean, here I'll get a little sentimental here, and like I'd say more recently, one of the cooler things that I've experienced in board games is actually sharing it with you. How about that, bud? Oh,
Oh
I'm
man,
gushing here. No,
you're gonna make me cry.
it's no, it's cool. I mean, we've been friends for a long time. We've, you know, shared our, passion for games together. You know, both PC and console.
Both board and
Mostly,
video.
yeah. And now this is like another thing that because it's sometimes difficult to share your passion for board games with people just because a lot of people have no interest. They've been so burned. I mean, well, either they're
Yeah.
not gamers at all or they're like, oh my God, Monopoly. It's like, oh, can't. Like, I remember going to a party of this mutual friend of ours. I think, I don't know, you know who I'm talking about. The one that lives out of country now. But
Oh yeah.
yeah. And we went to a party and, you know, it's like, food and drinks and stuff like that. And they're like, let's play a board game. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to play? This is, man, probably like 15 years ago. Actually, no, it was probably 15 to 20 years ago. And, they're like, we're going to play double Monopoly. And I'm like, what's
Oh.
that? So they took two Monopoly boards and they overlapped the go. So you did a figure eight. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm out. I
Yeah.
left.
Oh, look at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I'm like, I got to go to the club. I actually did, but yeah, when they pulled that out, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not even gonna play. I'm just,
I'm
but,
out.
yeah, yeah, I'm out like shout. But that's the thing. It's like when it's nice to be able to share the hobby with somebody that's has a similar passion to you about
Yeah.
it, and it's even better when it's a great friend. So that's I got to say that like the last year has been awesome in particular. Just not only doing the show with you, but also you know sharing, going to Gen Con and stuff like that, and um, living vicariously through you as well as you're exploring this board game life, and also I think it's awesome that you're doing all the gaming with your mom and stuff like that. It makes me think that I got to hook up with my old groups that
Yeah.
we used to do like regular gaming and stuff like that. Where was like the hardcore groups, not just hey, let's sit around the kitchen table and
Right.
I'll try to teach you this game that you've never heard of before, and you know with people that don't
Yeah.
have BGG accounts. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, I absolutely love my gaming group, and like I said, we typically meet 3 times a week. Um,
Hmm.
There's the one night is four of us doing Gloomhaven, and if one of us is missing, then we just play other stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we have our main on Wednesday nights that I schedule. It's every Wednesday, and then we have another guy in the group schedule sometimes. Most times on Mondays, we'll meet somewhere else and play other stuff, and it's just been a fun time. I really enjoy it, and it's been a great way to be exposed to so many different types of games and people and making
Yeah.
friends who all share the similar interests. And I will say on the whole sappy part, I can't tell you how many times I've thought, man, I wish Rob and I lived
I
close
know,
together.
right?
So we could be in the same game group
Yeah.
and play every week. Or
Oh,
I
heck
could just
yeah.
come over,
Yeah.
if we
Oh, yeah.
got just, hey, let's go through some of these things, like these games that you have yet to play, and same here, and we'll learn them together. So I'll get you out here. I'm never going back to Chicago. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Well, hold on,
I,
knock on wood. Let me not say that outright because I don't want to jinx myself.
yeah.
Because I said
As
I
your
wouldn't go
boss.
back once before and ended
Yeah.
back there.
And then your boss
So
goes, Mark, we need you to relocate to Chicago.
I quit.
And they're like the land of Portillos and Giordano's.
That's you can't deny the food is insane.
Yeah. But
But
just so
the
you
weather
know,
out here is amazing.
just so you know, Portillo's does have a 20-year plan of opening up like 920, I believe, restaurants
They
nationally.
still aren't out here. They need to get out here. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Anyway,
all
yeah.
right. So, have you gotten anything new to your shelf since the last 2 weeks? Any more packages show up unexpectedly?
Um, there is something, the Glade. I did get that. It's currently by my front door. I just took it out of the big box, and that was it. And I just backed another game on Kickstarter, but it's from a company called Small Box Games. There's a guy, John Cloudis, that runs it. These little card games, they're awesome. They're a lot of fun, and he just publishes himself. I think they're all published in the U.S., so they're published locally for what it's worth, and they're just awesome. So he had three new games that came out. They're like 25 cards each, and I backed that. So I'm a sucker for his games. I back all his projects because well, number one, they're cheap. They're usually like $20 or less, and they're really good. One of his biggest hits was called Omen, which is a fantastic game. So, but
What
that was it.
was it that you backed? What's it called?
That's a good question. I don't even remember. I just insta backed it this
Oh,
morning. Let me see if I can find it in my email.
I've
And
heard some things about these small card games. Um, I've seen like
yeah,
I'm trying to remember some 20 something or something 20 or what is it? No, there's a Button Shy Games, I think,
yeah,
is
Button
one that does a
Shy.
lot of
Yeah,
those little games, and they're supposed to be
yeah,
really good.
yeah. This is Small Box Games. That's the actual name of the company.
Oh, small box games. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, John Cloudis, and it's Kickstarter. Let me see if I can find it. I can probably,
Omen Games 1, 2, and 3.
yeah, that might be the one. It just like
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on.
launched today. Yeah, Omen Games 1, 2, and 3.
And you said Omen was the one he
So yeah,
was very popular.
yeah, that's like his big um big game. And it's just an interesting card game, and it's like fun. But he doesn't get the notoriety of any like think of it like he's an indie developer, he's an indie game maker that just doesn't get the credit that he should. It's like a hidden treasure. But yeah, Omen is the big standout one. There's a bunch of others that were pretty darn good, and these are just three new. games in the Omen universe, sort of.
Well, there's what, this thing just started and it's already more than doubled its goal.
Yeah, but he had like a $5,000 goal, so it's
Right.
wasn't that much. And
Yeah, it's already over that.
yeah,
Well, more than twice that.
and the
So
production isn't like knock your socks out either. It's a deck
it's
of
just
cards which are
right.
printed nicely, and there's usually like a really plain rule book, and it comes in a simple box.
Yeah.
And but I mean, that's fine. You don't need a Ticket to Ride sized box for every game because you can't fit them.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's really annoying when you do get that big box and then you open it up and there's like barely anything in there and you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Shelf
Oh
space is a
goodness.
premium. But anyway, that's what I got. Did you get anything?
I did. I got my Dungeon Saga Origins
Oh
showed
yeah.
up.
Mhm.
I don't know how I missed this one. That I thought this didn't require like a dungeon master, and I guess it does. Now that it
Oh
showed up, I was
yeah.
like, "Why is there a DM screen in this
Oh
thing?"
yeah. I remember in your
Oh,
video, you're
I
like,
went back and
what's
looked at it. I was like,
this?
"Oh crap!"
Oh.
So,
Well, you
but
probably
I'm gonna learn it
yeah.
anyways, and
Yeah.
it's yeah, I'll learn it anyways. So,
Yeah.
but yep,
All right.
that's what's new on my shelf. So, but
Nice.
other than that,
Nice.
that's it for me.
Okay, same here. All right, let's I know you got to roll, so let's close it out here. So I'm Rob, and I was almost going to do that other one because we did that other show that other day. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you all next week.
I'm Mark, and we'll see you at the table.